I would like to share a transmission with you, which is about our relating, which is about how we handle negativity, how we allow the purification across everything. The thing is that our life is our love. And to be able to live fully that freedom, we have to let go into the love of ourselves. It also means that our life, which is our love, becomes our teacher. It's the inner teacher. The moment that we allow ourselves to love and to be in love, we will meet the negativity which is buried down in the unconscious, because it will appear. So when we allow our openness, the negativity will appear, because that negativity shows our next limit, our limit in love. In handling ourselves, we can deal with this negativity by taking full responsibility for letting go and making that choice of love over the separated, love over fear. As we do this, we'll start falling into love with ourselves. It's the same as falling into the heart, and it starts purifying the heart space. As we do this, there is a full taking of care, which is called for, because that is what starts educating our beings. That is what sets our life free, which sets our spirit free to be and live as our beings. At this point, many of you, your life is a butterfly caught behind a window. The window of your contraction, of your limitation, of your identification. To open that window, the choice of freedom, the choice of love. While we allow the purification of our own beings, we can make the choice of letting that life, letting love be our teacher. That's an agreement to softness. We can let the softness of surrender be our teacher, and not the hardness, not the judgment, not the fear. As we will find ourselves in surroundings, we also have people around us in the state of negativity, in taking responsibility for ourselves. We must also deal with the fact that people around us don't take responsibility. This can only happen from integrity. The choice of love for ourselves, the purification of heart, the integrity and the power of the integrity comes with the stomach. And the spaciousness which makes us able to get the clarity on what's happening in any situation requires the purification of our headspace as well. In this way we cannot resign to the immature love, which is only the purification of the heart space. We have to allow the full alignment between the integrity in the gut, the love in the heart, and the clarity of the mind. As we deal with this negativity in ourselves, our living lives are invited to start living according to a greater and greater beauty. That greater and greater beauty is actually our surrender to the fact of grace across everything. Lifting our lives into living higher and higher states of consciousness reveals a greater and greater vulnerability. To make space for that vulnerability, care must be taken. when we take care of ourselves, we also must take care of others. In that we have a coming together of the integrity and the love of reality in the heart, which is love of one being. In dealing with other, should we receive negativity from other, we carry the same responsibility. We carry the responsibility for transforming that negativity. At the outset, they will be hurt. But it is our responsibility not to react, but to pass the negativity. Full clarity happens. And then to respond to the situation with the integrity. It also means that the idea of the immature love of turning the other cheek is asking for another slap in the face. This is not mature love. If we do not integrate truth into the belly as well, there cannot be an alignment which allows the lifting of humanity itself into a harmony where coexistence is possible. The clarity of the mind, seeing what's happening, seeing the situation, responding accordingly. The heart space must be educated, must be purified, must expand to be able to contain the feeling, to truly heal that which appears when negativity enters your system. And the power in the gut must also be in place to be able to truly allow the integrity of carrying your whole living reality into that higher state of consciousness. In this, there is nothing forceful, nothing that bursts out, but there is no retraction either. There is an arrival as love, which actually is the setting free of spirit, not just in you, but in everything. But everything in this comes down to taking full responsibility. When you take responsibility for yourself, you deal with the negativity that enters you, no matter if it comes from the inside of you or it comes from the outside. If it comes from the outside, 3 things can be made clear. First of all, you take care of the hurt. You don't react from the hurt. After that, communication can happen. But that communion must consist in, first of all, letting the one who spilled that negativity, the one who didn't take responsibility, know that they didn't take that responsibility. That it's hurtful when negativity is spilled without care. Secondly, there must be a letting know that our space, our mutual space is sacred. That we are together to be together in love, not to share each other's garbage. And last but not least, there can be an invitation. An invitation to actually meet in that vulnerability where actually negativity has no place. The vulnerability where we admit to the feeling, which at the outset becomes an expression of negativity when we won't own it. In that, we can actually be there for each other. In stating very clearly that we meet in the vulnerability and we can be love for each other, but we are not supposed to take punches from each other. Full love, full responsibility, full care. Learning to love, It needs to happen. Life can't happen if we don't learn how to love. If we don't learn how to live in that full responsibility.
When we are in the relation and there's negativity, where's the point I should choose to take care of myself more than of the relationship when the negativity
Always,
builds?
always. It's not like take a slap again, take a slap again, take a slap again, and wait for the other one to take responsibility.
Yeah.
It's take the slap, made it bloody clear that this is not acceptable, and not see it again, or see it again and cut it off. If the other is not willing to take the responsibility for him or herself, there is not the willingness to surrender into love with you. The thing is that we can all only do our best, and people can slip in their learning and becoming more conscious. But in this, it really matters that there is that agreement for people to do their best. If there is not a surrender happening, if there is not that agreement to allow the transformation and the purification, and there's just something that keeps on serving itself on your lap without the agreement to actually take the responsibility for not doing that, that's where you need to take the consequence. But you cannot put your foot down in terms of your integrity from a place of being scared of losing. Can you see that? The integrity has to come from a place of choosing love for yourself. And right there, you choose who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And I can only say that when you choose that love for yourself, you're asking the universe to send the people your way who respect you.
Yeah.
But if you hang on to the people that keep on pissing down your leg, you're asking for it. You are always able to move out of a situation. It is always your choice to leave when negativity presents itself before you. But this is where we need to see that our understanding of love is based on the immature love. Because we've kind of been told this whole like Christ consciousness thing that we're just supposed to take one slap after the other. And it's bullshit. It's simply not true. And it doesn't allow your life to lift itself into living in love, as love. Because the moment you take responsibility for yourself, you are attracting the people who do the same. But in this regard, it is like a fucking ladder. You have to take responsibility for yourself and move yourself out of the mud. But the moment you take responsibility for you and for not spilling your negativity, right there, you're actually empowering yourself in a way which also makes you able to move out of that. I can only say there's nothing to discuss. Ever. We can always only surrender to that vulnerability together and meet in the heart right there. The thing is that other people can always teach us something. But in demanding our own surrender, we can also call for that in the other. And if that willingness is not there, then you're constantly dealing with ego, and then thank you. People are deeply lost. But it's never a reason not to invite yourself to live love. That which makes the difference is whether we take the full responsibility ourselves. Because if you take responsibility for you, then if someone punches into your being with negativity, right there, if you take responsibility for you, then you transform that negativity. From there you can respond to the other from love, as love. If you do that, you will be heard. You will be heard. If you try to respond from that which is hurt, then you're doing exactly the same. You can keep on running that. You have to take responsibility, and that's the same as standing in the very power of you, without it being hard. It's not about hardness. It's not about punching back. It's just about stating, look, this is how it is. Because this is exactly what I'm saying. That when you transform negativity, it turns into your strength. Unless you keep on signing out on the fact of being and standing in that power. Don't be afraid of power. Take responsibility for it in love. What I learned is that if the other is truly doing his or her best, then I actually have the space available to let him or her learn. But it happens through mirroring the negativity, because it's ego, to mirror that immediately when it rises. Because if you are strong in your vulnerability, then you can stand from that vulnerability and actually ask the ego to lie down. And it does. If you do it from a place of fear of getting hurt, if you do it from love and not from fear, with the willingness to stay open rather than close. The strength of your vulnerability is the strength of your openness. And if you stay in love, even if you get punched, even if you get hurt, and right there, that transformation, that which you mirror back, is the strength of the vulnerability. If you don't want to stand in that power, if you don't want to stand in that intensity of love, you cannot be strong in your vulnerability. And you cannot actually knock that ego the hell out of the water that appears before you right when it does. Because that negativity, the moment it comes up and out that way, the power of speech, Jesus. Speech, it's such a tool of manifestation. And you can hurt like this if you want to. But people don't really want to hurt. It's very few people who actually mean to do harm. They just do it because they're unconscious. So if you can point to that which is unconscious, the moment that it comes as anything, before it starts coming with like a whole throwing up all over the place, if you can point it right back to itself, it's pinned to the cross. I shit you not. And it collapses. If we can go beyond the attachments to our personal lives and our old anything, if we can go beyond the attachments, if we can go beyond the fear of being alone, if we can go completely with that dedication to truth and the complete loyalty to learn from all parts of our being what it means to be transparent, what it means to be honest and to be real, then actually what can arrive is the biggest gift, which comes with having a human body. The incarnation of truth in form. How beautiful is that? What is required is surely our taking of responsibility and the development of our knowledge of love within our beings. The development of love within our beings, which is respect. The thing is that actually everything comes down to that fucking stop button. Because it will always be more important to deal with that which needs to be dealt with than to maintain some social getting together. And that means that unless we can be together in love, don't be together. If you can't be together in truth, don't be together. Go and take care of yourself. Don't go and take care of your shit. And then be with people. And it's not something, now I retract and I take care of my shit, because we constantly need that reflection, the mirror of the world, to show us where our limitations are. But the thing is that if negativity is in our beings, it comes out through our speech, it comes out through our actions, and it comes in our thoughts. So our actions, our speech, and our thought must be purified. This is the only way we will stop inflicting pain on this place. And more suffering. It's the only way we will lessen the impossibility of living as truth here. It's the willingness to see. It's the willingness to be. And it's the willingness to feel. Seeing, clarity, very good. It's not enough. We have to, within our sensory system, take the consequence as well. Feeling ourselves to the bottom. Feeling the reality of one being. How else can we have any idea what we're inflicting on this reality? How can we step carefully if we have no fucking clue what care is? And care is developed through the sense of feeling. In that there can be no fear of pain. The subtle dance of not making ourselves a victim and thereby attracting more pain, but dealing with the pain which is already in us and dealing with the fact of the pain which is around us as well. In integrity. When you go down to the bottom of your being, you get access to the information of her. The very earth you walk on. She's a being. And she is in a shitload of pain. Because of people's carelessness. If we don't listen, how can we know what's the right thing to do? We're nothing as the outset. Just a pure life force. The humane being, the human being, happens in the combination between the pure life force, the pure power, and the very heart of being. But she is the heart of this universe. And frankly, we're not doing a very good job taking care of her. And it's also funny because if you look at people, they always have this twist due to their own body identification. Hardly anyone actually realizes they're walking around in a being, for one. Secondly, no one sees that actually we are cells in her body. We're made out of her. So instead of gratitude for that, well, we go with abuse. Everyone's making kids, draining resources, moving to new places, draining new resources. In this regard, people are like cancer. Just eating up resources, moving on, spreading, spreading, spreading. It's pretty crazy. Let's just put it like, we kind of forget the appreciation part. We take a lot of things for granted we really shouldn't. And without that willingness to listen, there is no way to remedy that. The response that works is if you stay in your vulnerability and stay in your openness. Because that reflects, that mirrors love back to the one in front of you. You don't mirror negativity. You're a mirror of love, not of negativity. That's just ego bouncing around. And that's not integrity. The thing is that you need to surrender to your life. Because that's how you will come to learn to know yourself as love. If you don't know yourself as love, surely you can't respond as love. If you believe in the identification with your person and disregard your life, if you disregard your love, there is no chance for things to move in to that different sphere of being. The moment you take responsibility for your vulnerability, the moment you take responsibility for your love, for your openness, then you can start being a mirror for people. Otherwise it's just limitation, reflecting limitation. Someone protecting himself. But if we move beyond the self-protection, it's a different story. If you can be honest with your own negativity, and you can be honest with other people's negativity as well, and you have no problem letting people take responsibility for their negativity. Because it's pure illusion. This idea that other people are incapable. They're made of the exact same fabric that you are. significant this. Because to the extent that you stay with this immature love, you're cutting yourself off here. And that's the same as rejecting your own negativity, because going down in the lower realms, if they aren't purified, then you're harboring your own negativity. And that means that your version of love is that immature kind where you're like refusing your own negativity and the one of the other. And that means that nothing can truly transform in them. It does become this, this turning the other cheek thing. Yeah, it's not real. The thing is that your vulnerability and the strength of your vulnerability means a totally open heart. And as I said, if there is willingness within that to learn, then it comes down to, well, how far can you be with that? In terms of transforming the shit that's coming your way. But if there's not the willingness to take responsibility on the other side, it's wasted. Because then there's no teacher. If there's no receptive willingness to surrender, then if there's no willingness to surrender, then there's no being in love with that one. And then it just becomes taking one step after the other. And that's actually like a fuck up in your integrity then. But I want to say to you that when you say this about being and staying in your love, if you want to talk about it on that level where you actually allow yourself to not wear a mask, then your vulnerability is equal to a complete nakedness, which means that you don't protect yourself from being hit by the negativity that comes your way. And that right there means that you feel that pain. You don't just stand in a clarity and then say that the compassion is holding space for that. But the moment that love is truly present as the fire of love itself, which is the only thing which can actually allow the transformation of that situation, is the presence, which is the case when you are actually open, like fully open, in the authentic presence, without any mask. Right there, you're so fucking naked, you wouldn't believe it. You're so vulnerable. Because what you're saying there, I mean, it's beautiful and all that. But it excludes the fact of your vulnerability. And that's taking some other position, taking a higher position somewhere. While what I'm saying is that there is an invitation which invites an integration all the way down in your own human being, where you get to be vulnerable as well. And there is not room for taking responsibility from other people who don't deal with the fact that they need to transform their negativity. That's what this comes down to. There's some loyalty to an idea of family here. And then I can only ask you, who's your family? Is it your soul brothers or sisters, or the one you just happen to share blood with? What I can say is that in regards to my parents, for instance, because I've been working through any kind of negativity with them. And the thing is that there is never negativity pointing towards me anymore, because they found out that that's not a good idea. They found out that, hey, they don't understand, so maybe it's better that they watch and listen rather than spew opinions. But even in their expression of negativity in other ways, it's kind of like whenever they sit down to just express opinions, because that's what this comes down to. The negativity comes as opinions and all of that kind of stuff. Because it's not about the expression of the pain, because if there is an actual honesty to the pain, then we can be together in it. But the moment that pain is twisted into negativity, it's a different story. There is something lying in that. But if there is the willingness to meet in the vulnerability, right there, we're not in any way dismissing the pain. We meet in the pain. We meet through the pain. I don't know how many times in this lifetime I've had an assumption that someone couldn't deal with reality. And the moment that I came to the limit of, okay, now I can't take this anymore, and I took the consequence of being true in that relation, oops, all of a sudden they had the capacity. So it comes down to, do you believe in their limitation, or do you know that they are a part of everything? Do you invite truth in them, or do you ignite and continue limitation? Because we're constantly confirming each other's limitations when we operate on the level you're talking about.
Have you ever heard this lion roar?
It happens. But if it happens as truth, it's different. Because it comes as truth. It doesn't come from someone being hurt.
Yeah,
Truth can speak with absolute power.
Yeah.
This is where it's completely ignorant to think that it's about being nice all the time. The efficiency is to take it at the root and then go and deal with it at the root, because when there's this yelling and screaming going back and forth, you're hurting each other, and afterwards you have to heal all of this shit in addition. So in that sense, not efficient, no. It's like we have to take responsibility for the sacredness of the space between us. And you're speaking like when they're standing there and yelling and screaming, but at that point it already went like so far beyond the point of love that it has nothing to do with reality anymore. What I'm saying is that it can be reversed. And it can happen from a much more intelligent place. I'm talking about lifting, relating into pure relating. And actually inviting that to be our living reality. And we talked about this crossroads where either we can go fuck it and just start yelling and screaming, or we can take the responsibility of staying vulnerable and being honest to what's in us.
Yeah.
And allow that pain to be released through vulnerability. Instead of going against the other, to stay on the same side. You see, it's an entirely different respect for life and for love, which is required for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, for ourselves even. More than anything. It requires the loyalty to love rather than fear. Yeah?
Yeah.
It requires being affiliated with love instead of the identification, the contraction, the conditioning. And thereby the willingness to give up the identification, which is combined with all of the bullshit and the whole contamination of being, of perception.